Good, sir.
This time of year.
How's that?
Good to see you. Good.
What's that, what we need to
So,
do?
I want you to know, I'm not going to be asking except for about passes for the races that I will go to. I will ask Mitch.
I don't think we're going to stay this year.
We have no conflict.
When we get out of here. Exactly, I know. You want to know that,
Just so we're really upfront about this. I know who I won't ask and I know who I will.
What's up here?
You know why I came up, because we're doing our 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably one of
The bike here was water.
Yeah,
What are you gonna play with? What are you gonna do for it?
Okay.
When we get to that stage.
Oh,
Well,
missing Mickey. Mickey,
maybe he'll be popping in the door here, but
chair.
Thank you. What was life at Chico's State?
Stellar.
Yeah, beautiful. All the students are gone. Okay, we're gonna,
Summer early.
I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order.
What can you do now?
We have a caucus here, I don't know if we're ready or not. And our second meeting of this particular group, and we're going to have the approval of the minutes, if you will, please, and it's attached to the agenda. As you can see. And I know Warren had one here on B4. Did you get it printed out?
Yes, I think we got appropriate language on that.
Okay, paper language for a little bit.
Otherwise, I didn't see much.
I can reread it for everybody if you want.
Yeah, we will, Rick.
Sure.
Please.
So, it's gonna say, I'm gonna delete in 4B the words that the DMMs are, and insert the word regarding. So it's gonna say, PID efforts should include a statement regarding the district's effort to comply with the 20 by 2020 state conservation.
Good.
I'm removing.
We need a motion? We need a motion with this committee or not?
Yeah.
But approve the minutes as amended.
Motion to approve.
Well, first we're asking, did anybody see anything else in there that's an issue? That's the only thing I saw. Everything else I thought was fine.
Nope.
Okay. He made a motion. He does?
I said, moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as corrected on 4B4. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Corrected, yes. I have it for one. Go over a couple, well, here, we're going to have opening, on the wrong place. Public participation, and we have a couple of people here from the public, which is very good. This is the time for members of the audience to present items not on the agenda, and no action can be taken on these items, but they will be placed on future agendas for consideration, and comments should be limited to the appropriate time, 5 minutes during this time. And one of the nice things that I found here is that Paradise Irrigation District B, when we get into the other business, we always give the public the opportunity to contribute anytime before we take any action on it. So we have that. And David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Ornelas. My family and I have lived in Paradise for 8 years, and my kids are growing up with the beautiful clear water that we have here in the Sierra foothills. And I just wanted to become better informed about the water issues that affect my community and my family. So thank you.
Can you spell your last name so we
Lauren,
can
would you introduce yourself too?
Lauren Harvey,
We're new to this group here.
resident of Paradise since 1947. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for moving to attending.
Can you spell your last name?
Sure, it's ORNELLAS.
Yeah, David,
Sir.
words for you. How did you hear about the meeting?
I think that I saw a poster down in Chico about the water issues and the proposed Delta Tunnel and so forth, and I realized I just didn't know much about it. And so I looked on the website, and Georgiana was kind enough to send me a schedule of the events, including this meeting.
Thank you for your interest.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's a couple of things attached here. Prior to putting in, I guess it was last week, we received from the Butte County Grand Jury the report for 2012-13. get here. And then we discussed it in the last meeting about trying to get a handle on our consumers and their water usage, another item for Mike. Over here brought that back to our attention, and we have two pages that we handed out that they use. And the first item is just, you know, is the discussion is to continue to develop as a program of work to accomplish the objectives, and we've got 23 of them we came up with last time. But it was agreeable with you people. I think we'll have George be able to explain this handout so we have a better idea of trying to get a grasp on our consumers. George, would you say?
Sure. So this is just the first shot. You know, we'll be bringing more data forward as we get it. We're in the middle of a transition with our utility billing system. It's occurring actually this week. So there's some data we're waiting to maybe help the new software extract, so I don't have to Excel spreadsheet it myself. So we'll see. But beyond that, what you have before us is every year in April, we do an evaluation because we have two tiers of customers, so to speak. We have those that are our A customers, we call them, that are very low consumers of water. Essentially, they only qualify if they basically are just running their household and not really doing anything outside. They have to use less than 85 units of water in an entire year. Qualify for that rate, and those adjustments are made in April every year. So you can see that this year we had 2,158 residential A customers. Last year, and that number dropped. I think that's probably the first number year it's dropped in a long time. It's always been going the other direction. And then that same philosophy follows also for our multifamily with the different types of calculation, and then down through our businesses and local agencies, we offer an A rate as well for low consumers. This kind of shows you the bulk of our customers are residential, and about 3/4 of them are our standard residential B customer. That works. Answer any questions?
Well, so the numbers in bold there, those are the numbers of customers.
Yes. We haven't got, I haven't had time to drill down into consumption type yet.
But the number is an account?
Number of
And that
accounts.
equals meters?
Yes.
Okay, so there's nobody that has one account with 2 meters, or vice versa?
Correct. That's
Okay, it's
basically
one
correct.
account.
Yes.
Okay, counts means meters.
Okay, the way I look at it, even, and I just started seeing these last, in fact, I got this day before yesterday. The B, because I fall in that category at a certain moment, is the ones that have a landscape of water.
That way.
A landscape of water.
Pretty much.
To be any size
Yeah.
to the residential situation.
That's a good
Like I
general
was
statement.
here, well, if I can get through anyway. So the basically it. And the rest of them are kind of self-explanatory. We have 189 that are sealed. Well, actually 189 plus 46 that are actually sealed. And once they're sealed, we don't collect our service fee.
Sealed meters, we collect half the service charge.
Already have the service fee, technically.
They have the opportunity to go to a status called discontinued service and they pay no service fee. But when they go into a discontinued service, they risk if that service line that's serving their property leaks, we turn it off, and we don't repair it, or if we do a main line in that neighborhood, we don't replace their service line.
Okay, in other words, if they go that route, would you actually, you could remove the meter, maybe you do remove
We do remove
it. Okay, good. Any other comments on that? I'm sure Mike will relate to this. Is that giving you a better handle on it?
Yeah, but I'm still kind of curious though, the difference between, say, consumption in the winter, like in December when people aren't watering, versus in the summer when they would be watering. But the idea is to understand if is, how big a part is landscape?
Okay,
And I just kind of thought you could get.
I can give you a general, because
Yeah,
based
well,
on
it
our,
seems to me, if you look at the pie,
Yeah.
and that's a big piece of the pie, and that's something we want to go after, it's a little piece of the pie, and it's less important.
Well,
Or residential.
It's definitely a chunk.
our treatment plant
During the summer.
production's a good indication of that. So in the winter time, we're now running 3 million gallons a day or less. And in the last couple years, our summer days have been running 12 million gallons a day. Although this last extended heat period, we're pushing 13 and, a whole day, but we're running 14 out of plant mornings.
Yeah. Well, that's useful, because that, the difference between the two would be roughly landscape, I think.
Pretty much.
So that is a big piece.
I'm sure they'll have.
When do I get to say something?
Now.
All right, so I just had an idea.
Wait, Belinda, if you were with last night at the one meeting, and was here at the public, and she went before the board meeting and attended the whole meeting, but just a short way into the meeting, she was approved, but she stayed the whole time. So
Yeah,
she's
every
now,
minute of it.
she's now an official member. Sheriff, yes, would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, not at all. I'm Carol Perkins. I live on Neal Road, and I think I'm probably in your district, Doug. And,
What side of the road?
the east side or south side. And I also work for the Environmental Council as our water policy advocate.
Belinda, welcome. Belinda, now it's your turn.
Okay, when I was doing yard work today without the water on between 12 and, no. I just thought about this robo-dialing and for conservation tips to give to the public. In general, not a demand. We don't want councilmen on it. The verbiage would have to be approved, of course, but the proper watering time because of the evaporation, equation. And so somebody might understand that. It's just another way to get out the message. And that's it.
You talking about incident-specific dialing?
Well, like, yesterday I saw an advertisement on TV that was Reading water. They said, remember, don't water between this time and this time. And it was just, yeah, I thought it was helpful. And, people they want to know, they want to be educated. I don't know what PID's position is on this, and it would have to be run by council, because if you forget one conjunction, or put a conjunction in, it's called a lawsuit. And that's not what we want. We're about conserving the water. That's what it's about. So that's what my thought was.
Good.
That's it.
Any other thoughts before we move on?
Kind of on a different note from that, but I was thinking what Mike said the last time, that it'd be great to buy some kind of watering schedule table. Like you're saying, plants only drink so much water, and the rest of the water just goes right on past and down to the ground it goes. So if we should start working on some type of watering table. Lawns require X amount of water in these hours are best to do that, rather than my neighbor constantly seems to like about 6:30 in the evening, even though it's still about 105 outside. He wants to water his plant, and it's just like, you just lost half the water. And he runs it for about a half hour. And it's like, you couldn't possibly need that much water, besides you lost half to evaporation. So it'd be good for us to devise some type of watering table and durations. It shouldn't be too hard to get some basic numbers, I would think, right?
Yeah, you can make some guesses if you've got pop-up spray heads, it's going to do them about this fast,
Yeah.
To gross assumptions would probably.
Yeah, but I mean, to just sit there and say, well, we need to run for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50% of that or 90% of that water probably just went straight past whatever your foliage was.
But, but isn't PID gonna know eventually the water that you're running from your machine, your dishwasher, and outside? And you either got a leak or you don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to say but, I mean, at some point, something's gonna happen, you know that something has got to give with conservation.
The big thing though is adjusting for the season. People set and forget.
Yeah.
And so they set it for July, right? And then they water from April to October the same way.
I didn't water for 3 days when that Monday, Tuesday, and the Wednesday, and it rained here a week ago.
Well, that's another issue.
Another week.
It doesn't ever rain in the summer, right?
I just want to get off on my thing, why do I want to be spending water, but, and neighbors to all sides, but they were just running, it's like, it's a torrential downpour out there and you're running water. Excellent. That's perfect.
Except, we take questions from the public.
Yeah.
More.
You guys are all aware that automatic sprinkler systems, you can buy a moisture detector that plugs into the clock. And when it's wet enough, it deletes that cycle. So you might want to suggest that to folks, you know. Because then when it has enough water, it'll shut itself off anyway, because it's a
Let me
moisture.
interject a couple more items here that Judd added to the agenda. Are we done with this?
I think we're in general, just
We're just in
make
general
sure we're
discussion.
in compliance.
What-
We're not in general discussion, we're on program work, which is kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah, exactly. We got 23. But along with this program of work, that came out this last week was the grand jury report. That's why we added on here. And if you went to iPad 11 or page 93, and the one before that is 92, this is package. David, this is one that you can get along with your canals and bypass tunnels and all that kind of stuff. So they talk about all the water districts, and on the back of the map, they had a copy of the possibility, Delaware, and the Paradise Irrigation District. And I thought it was quite well done, and I really enjoyed reading it on the process of reading it again. But on I-93, about the PID, there is, you should have a copy over there. And it's got that attached to it. Just one sentence out of the whole one I want to make, and then we'll get back to our first item of business, putting some out of the program to work together. And I imagine, George, they got this from you, or maybe Shep. Do you have anything, did you put to measure?
No,
Then George, you did, or so.
I made a presentation.
Yeah, you made a presentation, which is the way it should be on here. And if we go down the list there, the key issues identified, and for this committee, conserving water is a prime message the PID wants to convey to its consumers. And for this committee, that guy covered it all. Now, anybody that wants to put anything in, then let's go back to develop our program of work. And we had 23 suggestions last night. We can do it. And
I have two more.
then we got some more. But to me, looking at it, education is the name of the game. We're here to sell water, give people the water that they need for their lifestyle. That's wild. But, you know, being a lifelong educator, if we can get those people to better know what to do and be a consumer, they will consume water. Even if they use the same amount. Am I making sense? But if they use the same amount in the proper fashion, how long to let it run and all kinds of the time of day, then we're winning. So, right.
Well, I just had a question, because I'm assuming, hopefully correctly, that conservation could be considerably cheaper than increasing capacity. I mean, depending on obviously how you do it, but I mean,
Depends on how you do it.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Spend
see.
money willy-nilly, but I assume increasing capacity is very expensive. And you said something, I think last time, that was kind of thoughtful to me, is that the fixing of leaking pipelines was actually very cost effective in terms of,
Yes.
and so, but I'm assuming that raising the capacity of our reservoir will be expensive.
Very expensive.
But it's in the report.
Yeah.
But the reason it's in the report is you have to balance conservation and utilizing our resource appropriately. And increasing our reservoir size is almost another issue because we're here forever. And that's what we're here to do. So raising the dam and creating more capacity is more about the future of the district than the present.
Do we see the need expanding? I mean, I guess it's, I mean, Paradise is kind of blocked by a bunch of canyons and stuff. Are we, is PID going to expand, or we're going to have more density with increased water use?
Magic
There,
8 ball says.
depending on what the county plan says, there is capacity to expand down the hill.
And that would be within the district and put more demand on the system.
If there was ever a sewer system built, even in the business districts.
Okay, let's.
So that, I mean, it's a huge question that the board has to deal with. Don't-
It's inevitable.
Don't get me wrong.
It's inevitable that capacity will have to expand at some point in time.
But it's not a sure trade-off, if you say you're going to increase capacity, we're going to have to expand anyway, so. No matter how much we.
Yeah, or how soon.
But that's a long-term plan.
I think the biggest message you need to take, rather than comparing it to capacity, is comparing it to drought supply. And what we can do on the conservation level may impact what we need to import. Because even if we are successful in coming up with a drought solution, whether it's the Myson Canal or whatever the option is, every drop of that water is going to be very expensive to import. And so the cost trade-off for conservation will be really huge. Because even if we do have to spend the money to get the infrastructure in place, those are going to be expensive drops of water that you're going to have to pump. And if you can conserve, you won't have to utilize that resource very often.
But I
It's
think
kind of like
on that-
buying insurance, you never want to use it. But
But
you
you're still paying
gotta have it.
Yeah.
Exactly what it's like.
That earlier issue, however, really does come back to our work product and where do we go with that item in education? And I think we link that to the 8.5 by 11 building option and the section where we get to implement a paragraph of educational value. So if we are saying we're identifying a 75% difference between winter water usage and irrigation time usage, the big piece of the pie then is looking at that block segment where we're addressing something to the public in the bill, has to say something about that element and where to find the resources and the information about how much water do I put on my lawn. Is it on the PID website? Is it through UC Master Gardeners from Butte County? Is it from the Garden Club? All of those are potential resources. But I think if we're going to be providing it as an educational element, the resource needs to be identified. You can't. I don't think we can just have a couple of sentences that says don't overhead water during this time period for these months. That's not as educational as providing the additional resources.
We need to have reference tables somewhere where they can go look and apply. Everybody's ours different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think part of our charge is to identify who we want to utilize as resources. I mean, at our general meeting a couple of weeks ago, Director Kellogg is saying he only has, 4 more days to find people to come to the new committee for the new park in McGilly. And I gave him 3 suggestions. He followed through on all 3, which was McGilly Beautification, Paradise Garden Club, and Butte County Master Gardeners. And he got a representative or more from each of those. Yeah, that I think we need to identify which resources are the ones that can answer certain questions and how that fits into whatever space we're given, whether it's 2 sentences or a whole paragraph in the building, which gets us to what's the status of the 8.5 by 11 building.
Yeah, it was approved by the board. It will come starting in the August bill.
Okay.
But now we have, on this first one, we have a little block. It's going to be on the next building. I haven't looked at it, right up my nose, so I haven't looked at it. But,
Yeah, the new bill hasn't come out.
The bill yet, but that's going to be there. But then I made a note down here. One of the things that we were going to do, and check me wrong, we were going to have a statement each month to run by the board so they'd be acquainted with it and approve on it. So, maybe as a standard item of business on the agenda would be to develop at least a rough outline, using George and Jim, Mickey, is what we want to state on that bill.
Next month's statement.
Next month's bill, and then we can get it approved. So we need to come up with that, what we want to say. We may not have to worry completely with
prefer you hammer out a block of suggested.
12 statements to be used for the, that's a good idea too,
And
because
not
then
try
we don't
to
have to.
And
Well, and then we can just get those approved at one time.
12 suggest, yeah.
You know, I wonder if we can, going back to the cable idea, every month you had an indicator that says adjust your clock to X, or turn the clock off, it's December. You know, and I'm not sure how to make that for the layperson, because it's not a simple thing. You know, if you're in April, we should be running 50% of summer or something. You know?
Absolutely.
And remind people to adjust the clock. So if you ran for 20 minutes in the summer and you're happy with that, you run for 10 minutes now. And maybe a simple example, but put in big black letters every month that percentage.
And just trying to, since the meeting, and just trying to help. Guess what was, I used to run it in 2 15-minute blocks at 3 and 9 in the morning. Still, before it gets too warm, I get a lot of shade on my lawns, you know, I can tell about the morning. And then I still noticed I'd come home at 5 and my ground was relatively dry on the surface. So now I've switched to a 10-minute, another 10-minute block at 1, 4 in the morning, and then that one at 9 o'clock. I come home, my ground is still wet. Even on the hot days last week, we had hot days, it was still damp underneath. So by just the same amount of time, still 30 minutes.
What's the matter of total time?
But after what you said, I thought, yeah, gosh, you know, maybe to just mix it up a little bit, let's play with the clock and see what I do, because like you said, 4 times on it.
And you can characterize landscapes by pop-up sprinklers versus rotors.
Mm-hmm.
Close. You know, it's not going to work for a school district where they got different kinds of homeowners with small rotors.
Yeah.
We could work on something like that.
Well, like Laura,
And George wants the disclaimer at the bottom, if your lawn dies, don't call it.
well, like Laura,
There's always some person with an exception.
Laura, what you're talking about, I think I've seen it, but I think it's good. Does it actually tell the user how much water is going through the sprinkler?
It's a probe that goes in the ground
A tensiometer.
and it senses the moisture in it.
Yeah, it's a tensiometer.
And you can get it for any sprinkler system you
I
want.
don't realize that.
Yeah.
Mine's a case,
I don't know. You know my clock.
No, the
Oh, I
way,
don't-
That's a good one, but it's.
Yeah, yeah.
See, that's,
the way those work is they just simply interrupt the ground connections.
Is that what they do?
The valve
That's
turns
it.
on Like normal, and it won't let it turn on because it's been turned on.
but it tells you what's down there.
Really?
Yes.
But also though, Doug, they have if I might interject, they have you can go to any store and for about $8 you can buy a handheld one that you can, and then even if you had a clock that was too old, you could test it and know where you're at for water.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, let's get back to our 23, we're going to add something up.
I think Carol.
Sorry, I have a quick question. Is Dr. Speaks here? Or, hi, what if, could we have like regionally oriented weather stations that define ET in that location and, could feed back to the central office and let people know what, so in other words, maybe one per district or something like that?
Well, I mean, we do have a center station in Durham, which is not too far away. We're a little bit different in climate.
Right.
But, I mean, it could probably be adjusted with a percentage pretty easily for our country. But the problem is Lower Paradise and Neil Road is considerably different than
What we call banana belt up to.
Right.
The pines, you know.
So it's not a perfect rule.
Yeah, so maybe just 2 or something. I don't know. I wonder how expensive those
and
units
the
are.
services, the ET clocks, you can actually buy clocks. You put a $40 subscription a year, it allows you to adjust, and they calculate on a kilometer square basis from lots of different sources. And they're pretty good. And those are the ones that are used in LA. So, but again, $300 for a clock. I mean, most people are not thinking about that.
Right. Well, that's my point. You know, if we could.
$40. Now, if the district could pay the annual fee, you know.
I think we're trying to get back to being realistic to the consumer. I think if you're giving them some advice on a monthly basis of how to make an adjustment, nobody's going to go out and make an adjustment.
Well, the people that are interested in conservation will kind of gravitate in that direction.
Yeah, the heat advice.
So maybe making people aware of that, but I agree with you. I mean, most people aren't going to afford it or don't see the value. And certainly not going to save that much on the water bill. Return on investment is probably fine.
We don't charge them.
Unfortunately, our
studies to suggest that.
Getting back on this program of work, what kind of a statement do we want to make for our August building? And we have a little one, and I forgot what it is, but anyway, what kind of a statement do we want to put to the general board for the August statement? What kind of a statement?
Wasn't the first one that we wanted to invite anybody?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
But, yeah, that's the first one, that's just a little block.
Formatting,
Bidding,
exactly.
open to the public,
Right.
it's about education.
And I think that's why you asked David how he found out about it, or whatever it was. Hopefully we'll have more people who get involved after this first building. Well, I'm talking about the next building, which would be August.
I do.
What would be a good thing to put in that August?
Well, your first building is gonna be August.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not
Well,
gonna
then,
get-
then we're talking September.
September, yes.
At this point, we're not prepared to come up with a list of 12.
Oh,
We need one.
that's all I'm after, for one.
Right.
And that will cover August. But I like George's idea that we should have the block done, then we can probably get them through the board, just a tad bit easier.
We actually, let me back you up. Per board direction, it was staff's decision what to do, with input given by the Water Conservation Committee and the Public Relations Committee.
Right, those two things.
So we have enough to do at the board level,
Yeah.
with the agenda and what the blurb about to say, so it doesn't need to go to the board.
And remember Director Kellogg wanted to share some of those spots, and when they had stuff for the Public Relations Committee, he wants to utilize some of that block. We'll still have the
And that's
ability.
what the motion was.
Yes.
So now for this September statement, it's just gonna happen, right? Come out with staff and these other committees,
Yeah.
or we will have a statement.
You can tell me what you want.
That's what I'm trying to get at. What do we want from that?
Well, how about just a general statement that says, turn down your clock a little bit, start to cool off?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just your
Okay,
sprinklers is what we
You
usually.
don't have to be quantitative, just point
Cooling nights.
okay, turn down, and we can figure out whether it be staff or probably have to put it to it or someone else. Turn down what clock?
Adjust your sprinklers is.
Adjust your sprinklers, because most people go turn down my clock, was it loud?
Well, no, I mean,
That's exactly it.
That's it, ticking.
People are not gonna grasp it, adjust your sprinklers, gets them to the point.
And if a person doesn't have a clock to turn down, then they're gonna do it by hand.
Right.
After 6 o'clock or, yeah, 6, or whatever they do it. If they do it in the middle of the night, they'll just have
Yeah,
better.
get the water manually and water less. That's a step in the right direction.
Okay, so we're all set for our September.
So would it be like water in the morning and the evening and, or something? Because what I'm running across is some people don't understand about, they just have IED, and why can't they turn it on at, you know, at
They
3
have just
o'clock?
ID, they just don't even need water at all.
I know, but
I
I
can
can't
run
tell
rampant in
them.
paradise without
Yeah.
any water in it, you know?
But I can't do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
sometime
maybe-
between, a lot of people try to have their watering done by 9 or 10 o'clock just simply because it's so damn hot.
Right.
You know, and then they don't start back up again until 8 or 9. I'm thinking of my in-laws who did water by hand forever. They've been gone for a number of years, but that's how they did it all the time. Now, let's get back to our 23. If you had 2 more to add to it, George?
So these two added, considering conservation, phone call using our phone system, and the other was developing the water schedule information. That's what I gather out of what you guys said.
Whether it's good or bad, I don't know yet, so. What do you-
George,
And I'd like to see all of us just play with our water, measure watering, and see how much does it take to keep the ground moist, you know? I
Was there a challenge?
I know, I trade not against you, I will back down from that just immediately out of the gate.
I used to run.
But I have run out in my own flower gardens, and I used to, you know, I basically, as I'm walking down, I just kind of, keep like 10 counts as I walk in. I like to walk hand walk, it kind of winds me down after I have a long day. So, then I thought, maybe if I just go down and get the ground wet, and kind of as I come back, I'll do a little slower walk through. Ground's just about as moist as it was the day before. I just stood there and felt it was on for a half hour straight. So, it's, because it's that like, you know, my company really thinking about, gosh, you know, am I just standing there watching water go down into the dirt, or am I actually doing something good for the plants? Because they're really only gonna drink up so much.
You could save a lot
in, how about for your one-line sentence for your billing, if your timer is right, it will water at night.
Oh,
That's very good, very good.
That's clever.
Part of the reason we like the public here.
That's pretty simple and tells you the whole story.
That's exactly it.
If you're,
Timer is right, it will water at night.
It's cute.
Yeah, one thing you might think about is not
that's
a
a catch.
tech tip of some sort, try a percentage timer. Again, it won't, other options for people that want to take advantage.
Are we coming up?
Update your timer.
Are we coming up? Are we coming up with some thoughts to go on September or board or
I mean,
whatever?
percentage timers are available.
Okay, sounds good.
Just maybe
Let's go back to our 24 or 5. And this is just me thinking, to think about it before sometime you with this committee before. And I threw this off to some people, part of it was credit cards, some of the other things I do at Butte College. I think we need to have something where the people can see, whether we put a program on or whatever it is, where they can actually see these plants that are less consumers of water that still look good, watering systems and how they work, whether it's your tensiometer or any of that type of stuff that you got. And I think we actually need to put, before it rains, once it rains, you want to forget about it, otherwise you'll be arrested in it. And come up with something that we can put on. And as I drive by here, and come down here occasionally, this area up here above the new driveway, that's going to be landscaped.
Some of it,
Well, I don't care how it's going to be landscaped, it's going to be landscaped.
some of it, just try to.
Except unless it's covered with rocks, that's what we're telling you. This is your cheapest way, covered with cobble. You never have to mow it again, you can use Roundup.
We did our share.
I think that section is determined by the city of Paradise. I think that.
But anyway, so, if we have something like that, we could actually have a demonstration area right here where people could access it.
That's in our plan. It's supposed to be right.
Yeah,
Put in your office,
and I would think that this committee, whether we use the garden club or CCC or whoever, it would be a good function for us to do, or staff, before it rains.
Probably won't happen before it rains.
No, but at least the planning part of it, and a little bit of demonstration. Then somebody can say, well, I'm gonna rework my landscape for next year. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Well, there's a lot of native shrubs that you wouldn't have to water at all.
Right, exactly right.
I think it's another thing. So neighbors water and ivy.
There's things we can't do.
That's another reason why we have so many amazing plants, because they don't take much water and just take over the world, Scotch Grove being one of them. And they look good at a time, disregarding everything else. But,
You have water versus water.
what's your thought on this first agenda as far as the program of work? So we still got an hour, right? So let's come up with something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we know our per capita usage?
Yes, it's, I can pull it up, but it's running around 200 gallons per person per day.
So that'd be great information to share.
Yeah.
San Francisco uses 108.
Oh, yeah.
Something to strive for.
Yeah.
So if I did our calculations right, we have roughly 400 gallons per person in storage per day, according to the
2 years worth, is that what you're saying?
juries.
Assuming there's no rainfall, 2 years worth.
Yeah, per person. Yeah. So do we lose? I mean, we don't lose a lot of water. Those are just rough calculations based
You're
on.
probably about right, because we're consuming about 7,000 acre feet a day, or a year, and we have 12,300
Okay.
acre storage.
Okay.
But a lot of it goes, happens as we're refilling, so you're not getting 7,000 used after you've topped off, it kind of goes through the whole year.
Mhm.
That's why we're not going all the way down every year.
Do we lose a lot in evaporation?
We have to account for that, but it's not, because of our climate, it's not a huge number.
Right. but we are still losing water through leaks.
Yes. We lose about, you start bringing my.
Was it 600?
4%, I think, or
About
more.
4 to 500 acre feet a year. Used to be 1,500 acre feet a year. Or it is 4 years ago.
Somebody was on heat, and I think he we're at about 6%, or he was less.
6 to 7.
And at one time, it was over 30,
Oh yeah, not that long ago.
not that long ago, which is.
What was it,
That's
18?
a bunch of-
Look on that chart next month and you'll see, you don't have to look very far back to see high numbers. That's why that line goes like this. You got
Right.
nothing, so. Even with all the steel pipe that we have.
If you want a history of it, it's in our water management plan. We have the last couple of years updated as well.
Okay.
John,
I had a lot of difficulties getting stuff off the website. I'm pretty technical, savvy. I don't know what's.
well, to get on with this program of work, would we like to start out with number, what was that here? B, we're going program of work, and briefly talk about each one of those, to see if we want to continue or elaborate, or say not at this time, or what, would that be a good way to do it?
I would make a suggestion that if we're done throwing ideas out there, we start talking about priorities, prioritizing this program over.
Well, that's what I was basically talking about here, we'll do each one.
I have another suggestion I'd love to see. Since we're surface water dependent, I'd love to see a greater emphasis, or, maybe a better connection between the town of Paradise and protecting our surface water in the town of Paradise and PID. Like stormwater runoff systems, maybe PID can work with the town in getting funding for, something like that, stormwater runoff, or, maybe some of the central creeks in our town. I mean, we're completely disconnected in our understanding of our surface water that flows through this town, because it is all primarily piped, in various places, and only daylights in a couple locations. And it'd be a great, I know that's water that flows downstream, and we don't use it here locally, except for our trees and recharging groundwater for us, and possibly down in the valley. But it'd be really awesome if we developed something where we're working together with the town to start protecting and improving our creeks.
Correct me if we're wrong, though, we only have right to pull runoff above the lake.
Yeah,
Things that feed
that-
from above the lake.
I hear what you're saying, but that would be a serious policy shift.
Yeah.
Just because it's
Yes.
not,
With the
purview.
right. So it would just be kind of a goodwill thing,
Yes.
working with the town.
How much runoff is actually controlled to any kind of storm system this time?
Not a lot.
Most of it's gonna go off into the natural ground anyway and just sink in, right? Or
We probably have one of the most high-tech runoff systems right out here. It's
We don't run any.
for a non-feeder creek that runs only when it's raining. Two,
Well, it's
3
an important
inches
creek though.
per day. Yeah, so.
I mean, because one of the things that we say, a lot of water is really lost. It sinks into the back of the ground, it's lost because we gotta treat it. That's the part. So, if we treat it, then people run off the line and go to the forest, and it's probably used to the forest, but
I used to help with fight fire and do a lot of controlled burners. This was back in the 40s and 50s, when I was a kid. And we would raise land improvement for cow feed, okay? The thing that always is amazing to me, we'd have a fire go through right south of town here, both sides, and a controlled burn, where we actually want to burn it off. And we'd generally do that in August or September, and quite often there would be water and seepages coming out of the ground where there had been water, but I never seen this as a kid. But the reason is, is because that brush shuts all the water out. Actually, it would run out of water. And then pretty soon when the brush grows back up, it doesn't run out anymore. But there's no, because the brush is all leaking out.
I would like to address part of her question. Come to the council meeting tonight, water conservation is part of the agenda.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
6 o'clock. Right after this.
We will start timely and we will end timely. But we gotta accomplish something. Okay, it was Commissioner George, that I don't want to prioritize. You know, we came up with, as a brainstorming, we had 23, we got 2 more now. But how do we want to prioritize?
Well, if you look at 23, we've already had a bit of a conversation about that, so I'd say that turned out to be a fairly good
I would say
our discussion.
Right. Now, first you think about it, it's a real key one to think about it first. You want to start in 22, go back up, whatever we want, or do we want to, what do we want to do with these 23 suggestions?
23 and 10 can be combined, couldn't they?
Let me just offer this. If you wouldn't allow my organizational skills to take this list and try, and George, let me know when I'm biting off too much, but I can try to reorganize this. This is just a sporadic list. I can try to organize it in categories. I'll figure out something.
Priorities.
Okay, controllers, just different categories
Yeah.
to help you focus. This is awfully sporadic.
Yeah,
I really can probably do something
that would
with
be
this.
Yeah.
Is it okay with that? Let me try to, be working on a plan for you, a staff plan,
this would be the,
so,
Yeah, next thing.
make it easy on you.
one of the things that I found a long time ago, that observing, when you're brainstorming with a group, you just let the things flow. That's what we did here, we came up with 23, or whatever they are. Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah, I suggest we have everybody in the room pick the top 10 things out of these 23, and then we just add those up, and of course, the ones that get the highest amount will be the top priorities. It's pretty simple.
Well, you know what, maybe Jim is organizing can do that, it'll be easier for us to do that next time.
I think we might find we only have maybe 10 items instead of 20.
We only have 10.
When you're done pairing them all up, and Jim's done pairing them up, I think we're going to have 10 items.
Well,
I think that's a great
There's
idea.
a classic facilitation way. You put them all up here on the wall, give everybody a dot, and you stick a dot, okay, as your priority. I mean, that works.
You've been watching TV.
It's not an old technique. It's
No.
still used today.
Yeah.
In fact, we're spending a small fortune on giving a part of one card.
Black and
On
focus.
the 80s, see that on TV when they walk out there and they stick it on there.
Yeah.
And down here, now it's way the hell gone up there. Okay.
Let me
We only
check.
have a little bit of summer left, so it seems like we'll never end, but we really only have a little bit of summer left to get out. Unfortunately, I was a little lacking in getting this committee off the ground as early as I wanted to this year because of other issues. But we should attack, like I said, timetables, maybe amounts of water. Those should be really our priority. We're going to get a short message out because before we know it, it's going to be September. We're not going to be watering as much. People are going to turn those clocks down. We're going to get some rainfall. At that point, like you said, people will completely forget water conservation and if there's one drop of water because then they assume everything's fixed, everything's good because we had rainfall and we never seem to have a problem up here unless they move back to like 76 or so. So we should probably work on that as probably one of our big priorities to get that table completed out there. Or some kind of schedule or something, just to give some people some ground basis of, yeah, this is your window on water. Don't look for, like I said, I just look around the neighborhood. I was sitting outside and just watching this one guy, and I'm like, it's 6:30 every night, it's a half hour, you've got maybe a 20 by 50 plot of grass that's old grass, so it's not even sod or anything like that, and it just runs and runs and runs. My neighbor that planted new sod a couple of years ago runs his, I see maybe 10 minutes that he runs his. And same kind of, same side of the road, at the same much shade, everything's just the same. This guy runs 10 minutes and it's gorgeous. He runs 30 minutes and it's still the same old lawn that was probably in 1970. So,
It's just a variety
a variety, yeah, it's an old lawn, it's, number one, one of the best things, like you put some topsoil on it and plant some new seed in it. But like I said, they don't have a timer that I believe, because my brother-in-law actually used to own the house a long time ago, and I don't remember there being any kind of controller. But I think they like coming home, turning on the sprinklers, sitting in the living room or on the front porch, and having the sprinklers go, and this is similar to getting them in the face, or something like that. They like the ambience of having the sprinklers running. Because like I said, they run for so long that it can't possibly require that much water. And it's the same time every night when they get home.
So have you given that address to maybe?
It's after six.
It's after six, exactly.
Oh, after 6.
I still don't think it's a great time of day to water, but it is after 6. My other neighbor waters at about 10:30 in the morning, and that one's a hard one too, because he really gets, by 10:30, he's got a ton of sun on his lawn, he's on the opposite side of the street. He gets a ton of sun, so he just took that down to 6:30 in the morning, which I know he's up at. Planking around the yard. So, it's like, just move it down.
But that does, I think that does get us to something that had come up a couple of months ago, and that's the implementation of the sort of penalty thing if you're a water waster. Has PID followed up on any of those and actually implemented a higher rate for people that are
Well,
wasting?
you've got your tiers, but
No, we haven't assigned a waste team to anybody in quite a few years.
the only thing we have is your tiers. And if they use so much water and then they bump themselves into tier 2 or tier 3, then they will get penalized, but with a higher rate,
Right, yeah.
which was pretty.
But how about if you use less, you get a credit?
Yeah, we did.
No, we did that.
I don't want to go there. That's definitely wrong.
Well, that's what PG&E does, is why you.
If you don't use as much water, you pay less.
Well, then you go into that residential A. If you can qualify under 85 units, then that's the kind of water usage that you can get.
But I think one of the things we want to know, if we are trying to educate people to not water between noon and 6 and not let it, not run off, go over sidewalk curbs and gutters to waste, then we need feedback. Have they done anything? So I know you've received some complaints and letters go out.
I actually called and spoke to them personally.
Okay, so what kind of feedback do we get?
Right, as a complaint from the public that this person's using a lot of water, or it's running into the street or something like that.
Right. I just call them, give them a friendly reminder of the rules, just let them know I just say that somebody called and said that they noticed that maybe your sprinklers need adjusted, and I just want to remind you of the standing, I use the right wording.
Regulation, yeah,
Thank you.
right.
Yes, and a couple people were nice, one person was, she was people who just mind their own business, you know, it's pretty much that.
So yeah, she'd rather.
But
pay
she
that.
said, but she did say she didn't know, she had never ever heard of anything like that before, so.
At the bottom of the board, do we have the website information on there, on the building?
No, I would actually,
I would say we definitely put in,
the conservation website stuff, yeah.
well, just the website in general. Is that gonna get a big bill, you know?
All right.
Any contact, you know, paradiseirrigation.com.
It's been on there.
Well, for her
a while.
just to say, I have no idea, I don't know. You
You know,
know,
I believe that.
most people don't, like,
I believe that they don't know.
I'm sure I don't know what PG&E will, you know?
Yeah.
It's out there.
It's funny because I was thinking about that, because I've lived here my whole life, so I've heard it my whole life, you know. But I think a lot of people haven't ever heard it.
Yeah.
Isn't it right on the bill?
I don't think so.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
The conservation,
We don't have a lot of spot.
the
We
six
don't have a
to,
lot of spot.
the 6 to noon rule.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I don't
shows
know
up
if I
as-
made it this year, but in years past, I think we've made that minimum, but.
One of our directors, I forget who it was, when we went to pass it that night, they wanted to have more discussion on it, and it was George Butte. It's like, this has been around forever. This is not something new. We're not asking you to do something new. This is something that we have signed off on before I was here, before most of the directors were here, or whatever, you know, 10-year-old thing or something like that, you know, so. Even some of the directors didn't know.
Our water conservation, you know, we kind of got an email on it. That came out in about 1970.
Yeah, the one that you said, yeah, exactly, but
In the middle of that thing.
but see, with everybody, even the directors approving it every year, you know, one of our directors this year asked, why are we doing this? You know?
But it sounds like there's two things that could go in the news, in the building. One is, don't water between noon and 6, remind people.
Yeah.
And second of all, go to the website, we got cool stuff.
Yeah. That's something like a word statement that is catchy in regards to your sprinklers.
People remember catchy things.
Exactly.
Now, is there no fine if you get caught?
There's a fine, but the idea is it's there passed by the board, so we have the support mostly for somebody that just tells you, forget you, I'm gonna even turn on more.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
I'm sure there's a person through out there that would do
But
that.
yeah, there's a penalty, it's 2 times the highest tier.
oh, okay, well, that's cool.
It's a pretty hefty penalty for somebody who wants to.
Or do you?
I'd just like to remind this committee of one thing. We're gonna be going to the ratepayers soon for some more money for things that have to be built, infrastructure, and so we don't wanna, I don't think we wanna make enemies out of the ratepayers, so I think it'd be smart to just think about education and not slapping folks' hands, because that word's gonna spread fast and they're gonna be very upset with that. So, just a
If you
suggestion,
just
but
give that same person a friendly reminder 5 days a week, and they'll get tired of seeing you on their front
Well-
porch.
well, don't you
If you
think,
want to do it, then how you can even say, gosh, you know, still water at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and it's 105 degrees outside.
well, I think, I
Or
personally,
just look at your clock as you walk by.
yeah, I personally think if you put it in the bill, it's better not to water between whatever you guys decide. Then everybody got that bill, and in a way, you kind of shame the folks into not doing it because they know their neighbors got that message too. But slapping folks' hands is not going to work. I can tell you that. I don't see that happening.
And you're absolutely
Right,
right.
I think you're,
Real soon, we're going to be going through for
Yes.
issues that need to happen, so.
well, in our September billing, there's going to be several statements out here, and I can see it. Quotes, the highest one would be, if your clock is right, you water at night.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That'll ring a bell.
Instead of
You
getting
know, a few
caught.
words to say. Well, getting on here, you know,
We've mentioned a few times that the PID website is a resource.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just curious, does it have how many hits you get? And which ones go to which page? Because you have one page of conservation with 99 tips on it, right? Yeah. Some of which are either kind of.
Nikki's your girl for that. She's,
Okay.
Yeah, we do get stats.
So I'm just curious, how many times can the consumers actually look at that? I think I've seen it 3 times in the last 4 or 5 years, that's all.
how many times can they look at it?
Well, you can look at it as many times as you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how
Is actually one of the highly visited areas.
Yeah,
conservation?
Yeah.
Yeah. That, and
there's a
That-
list of like the top
direct
10
information.
pages on every monthly agenda. You can see the numbers there.
In the staff reports.
Okay, getting back, I know we're continuing on here, but anyway, on these 23 or 24, 25 suggestions, well, I think Jim suggested he's going to categorize them, come up with the things, and then we'll follow Lauren's lead and figure out which ones we think the best by each person on their committee voting on it. And then from there, we'll take it, try to put a plan together. And what I'm going to do for the next meeting then, we'll come up with, one of the first things is the statement for, I guess it'd be the October building at that time. And we want to come up with this package of 12, which we can start putting together. George, yeah, that would be good. And then I wonder if, with the plan over here and it's landscaping, that George, I'll come and we'll take a look and see what your thoughts are, see if there's any kind of a package we can put together with the garden club or whatever it is, you know, to show us some of the planning and maybe make a presentation of it. Invite John, uses and all that.
We have, it's in on, we have a landscape plan that was developed by a landscape architect with a section in mind for demonstration plans.
Okay, well, if it's agreeable, I'll come here, and we'll look at the plan and look at it. And then at the next meeting, we'll go out there and actually look at it as a committee. And you can explain that, we'll get a better idea and see if we want to incorporate that into John Q. Citizen, get it here on the site, see what they're doing.
Once it opens, when the way George laid it out, and that guy, the designer of it, mechanical designer.
Landscape architect.
Thank you, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so look for the technical term for it. But the way the parking lot is, and the way the walkway kind of serpentines up to the courtyard office, it will be kind of like you take a meandering stroll through. Yeah, we could have, we think we got away from the straight path, kind of took a little more serpentine path, so we can kind of, you kind of go through.
ADA reasons.
Yeah, well, anyway, we have multiple reasons, but it's not just a, straight shot to the office, it is a path.
Yeah, but another thing that would do, if we get more people here, looking at it, see what we're doing, some thought on the thing, and maybe the architect, landscape architect put together, whoever, could actually be here talking about it. Talking about something with Jim.
I have a suggestion about using movie theaters, seeing, before
The running ad?
it's a great PSA type approach. I've seen cities use it.
Yeah.
They use,
I like
have to
that.
use a graphic specialist, like when we have,
We
you
can
know,
get, see the
and they
great
design and they put it on. And it's,
Yeah, we use
you can't miss
that,
it.
we've been using that at the Gold Nugget Museum,
Yeah.
at the ACS.
Right.
And Scott Lauder is always very interested
Yeah.
in some of that. Yes,
So like that.
He does it every year for the garden club.
Awesome.
For the
Very
garden club.
well.
It'll cost,
Right.
first, but still, it reaches.
Yeah, we could probably bargain with Scott to give us a little PSA time now. Maybe a little break. So they do the garden club, they give you a pretty good deal on that.
We gave him 200 daffodil bulbs.
Yeah, exactly. In trade out for it, right?
Improve his landscape.
Yeah, exactly.
Town beautification.
We won't shut the water off, right? That's right. Cut out first.
Oh, public service announcement.
Yeah, that's a definite public service announcement.
There is another
That's a great
idea
idea.
that you can have like a 10-minute video of a professional public outreach, document the watershed, treatment plan, distribute, you educate the public on our water system, no more than 10 minutes, and you script it.
Like a YouTube put on the website,
Yeah,
is that what you're
that
saying?
kind of concept. A lot of agencies do these they live and breathe wine as a resource during rate setting, where you go to a club, you show it at the Rotary, you show it all around. They ask you to come speak, and you go, well, here's my video.
Yeah.
And then, hey, what questions do you have
Yeah.
about this video? It takes effort, but it takes talent. These aren't these things that people to speak and sing.
Yeah.
Of course, we have distribution guys.
Did I see you raise your hand on speak and sing?
Organize.
We talked about it at the Public Relations Committee, reaching more to Chico State, internships, et cetera, and that could be something we could look at down the road. In their production department to students to put together a video like that.
Yeah.
Assuming still have a drama department, we could bring us some actors.
Probably not.
They say it's not my department.
These days, everybody's an actor when it comes to, a phone or cell phone or YouTube or something.
Well, it'd be nice to have something targeted at Paradise, because Paradise does represent some unique challenge. A lot of times, it's not a valley community where you kind of look at.
We're not pumping on the ground. Yeah.
Well, but even but the conservation side, just the landscaping, the plants, the trees, the range we have.
I see zero conservation in Chico, and I really, and not the campus, but when you drive down streets.
Not a stellar example.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, you don't see, gross water going on, during the long times of the day, on the campus. But
Well, you can't, just as soon as you get to that, it's water.
yeah. When you drive down the streets of Chico, there's just water pouring into the streets. You know, it's like, okay, I think your lawn's got enough. It's, you know, you got a river running about 600 feet down to the first culvert. I'm pretty sure you got enough water in your lawn. Or your sprinkler head should probably face the lawn instead of the road. There's just no good examples.
But we have a lot of public events in this town, you know, Golden Nugget Days, Dogtown Fair, Days of Living History.
Our own
When
tour and
setting up a
open
10
house.
by 10 booth and having somebody talk to the public with free flyers and that sort of stuff. Face-to-face communication is very effective, very effective.
Thursday night market.
And RWS does it, every public event. Jennifer Arbuckle's out there handing out brochures, helping people see how to recycle, part of conservation. And every other community's got it very actively, so.
I've been involved with a couple of those that don't have to be very productive.
Yeah, I would kind of request, I like your idea of sorting it down on list, maybe combining like things, maybe you can send it out a week or so in advance to us, and then we can come with our top five.
Of course, yeah.
Whoever, prepared.
Absolutely.
I can see by the end of next week, I can have something.
I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, that would be good. When did you folks, if you went online, or when did you get your ticket?
Last
Was
week.
it yesterday, or
That's
What
what
Craig said last week.
last week? He generally has it out a week before. And mine was online. Did you get, yeah. Now, we added the Jim Grand jury report, because we didn't have it yet. And I was very impressed with that report.
What is our cutoff for these committee? 24? 48 hours?
Same committees, 48.
48.
Well, but still, I mean, in terms of having us.
No, I was just thinking for adding something, if we came up with something, I was thinking different direction, but if we were gonna add something to the agenda,
But to get
I'm thinking from the board member.
get these different ideas and come up with some that Jim's gonna categorize for us, and we'll get that out like he was talking about. So you'll be all prepared when you get here, and looking over them. And then we're going to look at getting a PSA up here, at the Butte Theater. Like, I'd be happy to talk to Scott Lauder.
Well, I'll be in my plan. You'll see that in the summarized plan.
I'll get this over right
Yeah,
now, we get that.
yeah, you know, we've got probably 30 things.
Are you gonna put out about the 10-minute video? Now, the 10-minute video is actually more talking about, this is your paradise irrigation.
Oh, you know, you have to tie conservation in at the end of it.
Yeah, I realize that.
You talk about the watershed, and you talk about the drought stuff, and how much water we have, and then at the end of it, you talk about how wide.
Start at the lake,
You
come
really
down,
get
trees and
in
plants.
10 minutes, you get to make these, this is a big part of that scripting is part of that.
Critical.
You start it, you know, you start out and explain all that, and then you explain to them why they have to conserve. And you talk about the infrastructure, and the cost of the infrastructure, you get all these points in. Show them a pipe like that in the ground.
There's absolutely no doubt about
You know,
it, as Lauren has mentioned to other people, we're going to have to be going out for a pretty significant break adjustment. Unless we don't do any infrastructure. That's just the bottom line. We don't need the road scholar to figure that one out. So for the more information we can give these people, and the more that we can involve them in conservation and how the world turns and the water runs downhill or uphill, the better off we're going to be. Because that's exactly what we're going to have to do. That's just the way it is. And I think this conservation would be, and then I'll meet with George, I'll give you a call next week or two, and we'll go up here, and I'd like to look at it in some way, see what we can do. And then the next meeting, we'll be able to go out and actually look at it, and brainstorm, get some ideas, and see what we get the garden club or whatever involved in. And that way, people, when they drive down the highway, I have no way, Clark Road up here, and look out over here, they're going to have maybe a different thought, that some of them are perfect together. Yeah, like I said,
Let me ask George, how much time are we, or how much rotation are we using with our sign privileges over at the park? I don't know if Doug remembered, but we have 1/3 of the sign time over there at the park.
and it's
So you know, different stuff that's out there, see on your services, stuff like that.
Not as
So,
good as we used to be, but yeah.
yeah, well, there's only so much time, there's only so much time in the day, you know, I mean, I think in the wintertime, we have a little more time to change those messages up. But, we do have a 1/3 share of that sign over there, in the old neighborhood Parks and Rec.
Well, I know,
Just the
I go
water
by,
level.
I go
Yeah,
by
we've
there
got the
quite
new
frequently.
services up there
Yeah, I saw new services.
and the water level.
Yeah, the water level's cool. But the thing about it is, it's gotta be short.
Mhm.
Oh, that is.
Wide.
Yes.
Yeah, oh,
You can give Lauren his 10 minutes of fame,
Yeah, really.
this is.
put his message up there.
Yeah.
The jingle would be a good spot for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Well, you know, I've seen several things on PID on that side, and they're really good, I don't like it. And I believe people are getting used to looking at it. And I don't think they're having the problems and the crashes and all that.
According to the police department, you're not supposed to be looking at it, you're supposed to drive by. You're only supposed to look at it when you're parked or when you're walking. I guess these are the only two times you're supposed to actually see a sign outside.
Very true.
And since there's no parking right there. But you know, but I notice when something changes, like I don't look at that sign every night, but I noticed the new services
Yes.
blurb in there. And then I notice usually when the number changes on the lake, you know, on there. And that's just subconscious stuff. That's not something I'm not looking at it directly. I just noticed, hey, it's a different message.
Is it your line of view without
Yeah.
losing concentration on the road?
So, yeah, a nice little jingle, something with color with it, something that gets your eye,
Maybe we can include this,
but doesn't
if your
bore.
clock is right, your water at night or something like that. You know, Florida.
I'd just like to say that when I first started in what I'm doing, 4 years ago, I went to Fresno to learn how to do what I do. And we were taught in school there that anything past 7, 8 words on a sign is useless because people won't read it.
Yep.
You'll never get your message out. You gotta keep it short, real short.
Well, that's a fact.
So you might wanna think about that. A lot of
Plus, your
information.
brain only comprehend 3 or 4 words in a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not, yeah. Unless we got them going like this and staring. What did that sign say, you know?
We got enough of that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Case in point, I was involved for quite a number of years with the Paradise Community Forest. And there was a person that put up on displays. And just like you're talking about, you gotta have it big enough where people drive by it, now they're down here. But there's some out now that you damn near have to stop and set to read them, and it's little numbers. And I thought it was 4H, but it's 4-8 or something like that, you know. I was wondering, what will 4H do? I don't know about it. But, so that's the case in point. All right, we'll continue on here. We discussed all of this, that's good, I haven't heard the discussion, I think we made some real headway for our second meeting. I hope you feel the same way. Consider establishing a future meeting date. How do we want to do that? We're talking about
August.
We're looking at August.
Can we just keep our same?
That's what I thought, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Second Tuesday, is that what we said? So the 12th?
Tuesday before the third Wednesday.
Wait a minute, the second Tuesday, or is that the 13th?
Is that is the 13th?
It'll be the 11th, right?
I'm looking at skewed.
Oh, it's 13th.
The 13th. Is that a good time for everybody?
I think that's what we said was the second.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Are you gonna be, Mike, you're gonna be back?
No. Oh, good.
All right. Career PID conservation meeting, 4 o'clock, still good for people, 4 to 6? Yeah, perfect. 4 to 6. And we talked about what we're gonna have on the agenda and all that. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? I know if we are compelled to stay here till 6 o'clock.
Well, one quick thing I want to follow up on, that demonstration garden. What do we do currently for control of irrigation, landscape irrigation? I guess I'll be practicing on the tree and adjusting it constantly. And what kind of technology do we have? There might be a place to showcase some technology. Could be the sensor.
A lot.
Huh?
Probably not a lot. We only have trees and shrubs, so.
No.
Do we have some native grass or something? Do we have a couple of native grass?
What is our, this summer?
It's usually in September, and we
Mine's 10 of
set a date.
The reason I asked that, do you think you'll have a date set by the next meeting? Or-
Yeah, actually, we probably need to discuss it and let you know next week what it's gonna be.
What I'm talking about is. Lake Shore or something.
September, yeah.
I personally attended it, my wife and I, last year because of running for office. And I highly, if you haven't been on it, or even if you have, it is very informative. It's really an enjoyable experience. Yeah.
Is
Maybe
Rick-
we got-
You're lots of people. Jim and his crew at the treatment plant just do an awesome job. Tell me about how it is, you can actually see it, hands it on. And then the last time, we had to stop at the corner, Posey and Billy, and got to look down at the ditch and see what was going on there. It was very good. We haven't been on it, we should really start. We're ready to, actually, in Black Country calendar.
Is rainfall capture out of our purview? Outside of our purview?
It's not outside of this committee's purview. To me, it's always been low on the list just because of the way of our seasonal rainfall path here on the ridge. You just can't really capture enough. Last year, you don't get those intermittent storms that you about, but we got some experts.
You're talking about
Agree with
personal?
that?
Yeah,
Rainwater capture system.
yeah, probably
Yeah.
capture system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, right.
It's
It's not like they were
expensive.
telling the monsoons come through. and-
Fill in an hour, you know. Some of us here during, we had a story that talked about
What about rainwater?
Some rainfall capture, and they didn't want to have a hookup, maybe it's a couple of years ago, and they didn't want to have a hookup or something.
What's that?
I do. Because there was a little, there was a little dispute over the hill on why they shouldn't pick it over being rainfall capture. We were problem, it was a problem.
Well, I got another one for you. Be water wise, don't skip a drip.
It's pretty good. Sweep that up.
And with that, I'm done.
I always knew there was something to that.
Lauren's, all this time, Lauren's jingle right,
Lauren.
hide back there quietly.
Okay, we're gonna start something here because I really enjoyed it. We predicted, I predicted, we're gonna have a great debate here. We're gonna go around the room. Any comments, more or before you really think? Anything you want to say? Just-
No, I've made a fool out of myself enough. I'll say it.
Anything for good in the order?
No, just great to hear such great minds and voices.
Now, you
Working
will
with
be-
Which way were you looking when you, yeah.
Anything for good in the order?
I'm wondering if you could utilize 101 conservation tips you have on your website. I haven't looked at them yet, but and I don't know where they come from, but you might pull from those and point
Yeah, and
them.
I would actually suggest that everyone on the committee actually go to our website and look those up.
Yeah.
They mostly come from, we have a couple of organizations that help us with that stuff, California Urban Water Conservation Council.
The Save Our Water.org,
Save Our Water.
there's so much stuff on the site.
Well, there's a ton of information out there.
Yeah.
I mean, both on your site already and connected. It's a matter of getting people to kind of buy in.
Yeah.
We gotta click those links when they.
Well,
You gotta give them.
It's hard for us to just steal
You gotta give
everything,
them a
you know,
reason.
steal everything and stick it on our website, you know, it's.
Yeah.
Jim, anything for the good of the order? You've said a lot of good things for the order, but the order. George, anything?
I think that there's a lot of common elements in all water conservation work plans like developing, but it has to be unique to this district.
This is
Somehow we have to get the spin of this district in our plan.
Yeah,
How do we do
that's
that?
I think that's what we're driving to, we sure have a great.
I think that's what I know we're going to, all y'all want that.
Yeah, that's right on the head right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, last time I did report seminar a couple months ago. It's kind of interesting. It was on transitioning your laundry to landscape programs. It's some
Gray water?
No, laundry. So it's a total commitment to taking your washing machine and transitioning it and getting it out to your landscape. You have to use special soaps, you have to use special things, you have to have a diverter valve. There's some work we could do with the town. But it was interesting because the payback was like 40 years and their water was really, really expensive. So it would only work for people that were really committed to conserving the resource. It's just not going to save you any money. But we could provide some information on stuff like that.
If we ever go into a real drought like we have, that would be cut right to the road.
Well, the interesting part is that, we're all on septic anyway, so it goes in the ground, it comes out somewhere.
Right.
So, I mean, to some extent, we have rainwater recycling. We're not putting in the storm.
Somewhere in the Tuscan Aquifer, that's our water. I don't know, about 40 years old, but that's about it.
See, the comforting part is it flows downhill, right, and we get our water from uphill, so we're not polluted.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The crazy thing is, and I don't know where to get this, but they're actually using the power pump pressure from the pump that pumps the water out. They're actually using that pressure to deliver it out to their gardens and stuff. I don't know how long your washing machine's going to survive.
So I was just saying, mine just sits in a large receptacle, so if you put pressure behind it,
Oh, yeah, you're
It's
actually
bubbling back
converting
into
it
my house.
over and it's connected.
that's the way most of ours are, they're not really pressure fitted valves.
I don't know where that came from. That's not in the green building guidelines that were signed in the building codes here.
It's a pretty new, I mean, they presented it as a very new thing, and there was some local building codes adopting specific ways to deal with it.
Gray water.
Yeah, washing machines have a low head centrifugal pump, so you won't worry about it.
Well,
Yeah,
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
While waiting for her, Linda, do you have any,
No, I just don't want to get back to the 2008, like in Georgia, where they couldn't take showers for like 3 days because of a huge drought. I had a family back there thinking, ooh, I mean, that was bad.
let's hope that,
And it could happen, right?
sure could.
Did in 76?
Or
I remember.
anything for the yard.
A lot of my comments have been based on how we communicate with the users, and some of it had to do with the appearances of water wasters. I also think one of the best things you can do is do positive reinforcement. So I think if there was a way, it doesn't necessarily have to be a PID representative, but anybody in this committee who saw a place who was a water waster and suddenly now they're watering at 9 o'clock at night, you go in, you ask for the manager to shake their hand and thank them. Positive reinforcement goes a long way.
That's a great idea. Super.
And it's easy to do. And most of it happens at places you'd go to anyway.
I'd like to thank Lauren, number one, our little wallflower back there, comes up with a great idea.
Two of them.
He's quiet, and pops off with that one, out of nowhere, so that was great. Jim, great ideas on the PSA of the theater, because we all sit there and watch those things, and even though we're probably not paying attention subconsciously, we're drinking it all in there.
We have some
So,
awful beautiful pictures to show.
with a little bit of color and
And
stuff.
such.
People's brains drink up everything, I don't know what the Coke thing was about, but I know there was something about Coke there around there, so it made me thirsty.
It's the real thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know what it was, but I know that I was probably thirsty for a Coke, probably, because this is a little part of the Coke in there, probably flashing. So, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. That's great for all the input we've had. We believe the word's absolutely right, and positive reinforcement is going to be a better way to go at this than hand slapping. Because we're not ready for anybody to go with good reaction. They're just going to turn the water towards them, turn the water off. Glad to be here.
Like,
I think I said my piece.
take it.
I haven't said much the whole meeting. I'm looking forward to the next time when Jen's got that list all organized and, we'll focus
No
on
pressure.
doing stuff, yeah.
Great idea. Well, thank you, folks, and hope you go
regular meetings next, Wednesday?
13.
Yeah, I was trying to think, I was trying to block. Our regular, actually, the 20, oh yeah, the 17th, 6:30.
The 17th here.
The next
17th, 6:30.
Next regular meeting is here
Yeah.
for the conservation. You're talking about the regular board.
The regular board meeting, correct.